Prague is a very special place for me. I've been there 4 times and every time I come back I discover something new. In this video I want to connect Prague's past to its present and find out why so many people call this beautiful city the Bitcoin capital. So let's jump into the heart of Europe, to a city with over 1100 years of history. Welcome to Prague. I was invited to speak at BTC Prague, so I came to the city 2 days early. I stayed in Malá Strana, one of Prague's most historic neighborhoods, and after a quick check-in at the hotel, I did what I always love to do in a new city. I went for a walk. I just checked into my hotel, and of course, after that long flight, I need to get some coffee. Prague has one of the largest tram networks in Europe, with about 143 kilometers or around 90 miles of tram lines and 26 daytime routes. The first horse-drawn tram started running in 1875, so trams have been part of Prague life for almost 150 years.
Nastupujte prosím, jedeme na Václavské náměstí.
Today they are not just transportation, they are one of the best ways to see the city above ground, especially routes like 22, which passes near many historic sites. The tram isn't just a cool part of Prague, it's actually really convenient. In my case it was way faster than driving. Just look at how much faster we're moving compared to the cars. I checked Google Maps and found a coffee spot with a name I couldn't ignore: Bitcoin Coffee. Can I have Americano, please? Of course I paid in Bitcoin. While drinking my coffee, I met a cool guy named Lukas, who told me this place is actually part of OneMiners and BTC Prague.
Okay, I'm Lukas, I'm from OneMiners. What we are doing is crypto mining and provide hosting for each miner in location which provide cheap electricity and profitable mining.
Lukas showed me their office, we chatted for a bit, and then I headed back to Malá Strana to film some cool shots of the city. By the time I got back to the hotel, it had started raining, so I decided to spend a couple of hours under the canopy, just watching people, trams, and the beautiful architecture. The next day I woke up at 5 a.m. to see Prague before the tourists arrived. Guys, it's 5 a.m. It's so quiet and peaceful. This is my hotel, and I'm walking toward the bridge. This neighborhood is insane, just look at it. On my way to the bridge I spotted this old water wheel. It belongs to the Grand Priory Mill on the Chertovka Canal. There has been a water wheel here since the late 1200s, and centuries ago it helped grind grain into flour. Charles Bridge was built in the 14th century by King Charles IV, and for hundreds of years it was the main connection between Prague Palace and the Old Town.
Jméno Otce i Syna i Ducha Svatého.
If you can wake up around 5 a.m. like I did, you won't regret it. Prague is almost empty that early, and it gives the city this ancient medieval vibe. I agree with people who say Prague feels like a museum city. This is St. John of Nepomuk, probably the most famous statue on Charles Bridge. Legend says he was thrown from this bridge into the Vltava River in 1393 after refusing to reveal the Queen's confession.
In manus tuas, Domine.
That's why you see 5 stars around his head. They're part of the legend of where his body was found. At the base, these bronze reliefs are polished gold from people touching them for good luck, especially the famous little dog. And as I'm leaving the bridge toward Old Town, one last detail. Look up under the tower. The ceiling has a rare Gothic vault with a crown in the center instead of a normal keystone. This wasn't just an entrance to the bridge, it was part of the old royal route for Czech coronations. The next day I spoke at BTC Prague, the largest Bitcoin conference in Europe. Bitcoin's future is bright. Thank you so much for your time. The event brought together more than 250 speakers, including Michael Saylor, the founder of Strategy, and Adam Back, the creator of Hashcash, whose name is mentioned in the Bitcoin white paper. The 3-day conference took place at PVA Expo Praha. There were multiple stages, a huge expo hall, and a lot of space for people to learn, network, and just hang out. If you've never been to a conference like this, imagine a huge festival where everything is focused on Bitcoin. At the conference I met with brothers Matyáš and Kuchař, the co-founders of BTC Prague, who told me the backstory of how this whole event started.
Okay, the BTC Prague story, it originates already back in 2019 actually, when we at some moment realized with my brother Matyáš that we are deeply in Bitcoin already and that we wanna simply do more, but we saw that there's no proper Bitcoin conference happening in Czech Republic.
There was nothing like that in Czech Republic. There were just small meetups in Prague, and we organized the first event in September 2020 during the COVID lockdown, and we managed to get 500 people there. The year after we scaled to 1,000 people, the year after 2,000 people, still in Czech language only.
And somebody told us that we are like the biggest non-English speaking conference on the world, and we were like, wow, interesting, we haven't thought of like this. So we planted a seed. We created a brand which is BTC Prague, so to make it easy to understand, Bitcoin and Prague, obviously.
So there was the year 2023. And the first year we hit great numbers. We had 6,500 people, 200 speakers. We were very ambitious and we did it, but it was a lot of work. We almost died for the first year because it was just me, Martin, my brother, and one assistant.
How big is the team right now?
10 people full-time throughout the whole year. We don't do anything else. We just organize this one event. What you see here, 3 days, it's 1% of the whole work.
It makes me happy, to be honest, to see that people are coming not for the price, but for Bitcoin, to learn, to network, and to understand what this technology is about.
Today, BTC Prague is the largest Bitcoin conference in Europe, bringing together more than 8,000 attendees and hundreds of sponsors. At the event, I met with some of my partners, including Tangim, Stampseed, Firefish, and Trezor. And since Trezor is the world's first hardware wallet created right here in Prague, I used the opportunity to record an interview with Trezor's CTO, which you can find as a separate video on my channel. At the conference, I learned that the phrase Prague is the Bitcoin capital was actually coined by Matyáš Kuchař, so I decided to ask him and Martin to explain why so many people call Prague the Bitcoin capital.
Many people call Prague the Bitcoin capital. Can you tell me why?
I've coined this term, Bitcoin capital. Bitcoin has been rooted in Prague since the very beginning.
I was born in the communism, the oppressive regime. We were occupied by Russians for 40 years. It ended in 1989 with the Velvet Revolution. Luckily it was peaceful, but majority of the population still remembers that dark period of our history. So we as Czechs, we understand what freedom of money means, what freedom means in general.
So we know that if we need something, we develop it by ourselves. We like to say that Czech has a golden hands.
Because of the communism and the lack of standard present nowadays goods and even groceries in the stores, Czech became creators and builders, so that do-it-yours culture became very present in our bodies and in our minds.
The first ever mining pool, Slash pool, was invented here in Prague by Slash. Slash and Stick, then they founded together the Trezor, the first hardware wallet.
Whole seed phrase thing, the mnemonic phase, BIP39 standard, again here Prague, Bitcoin ATM, General Bytes, Prague, first Bitcoin conference 2011, Prague.
There was a snowball effect happening since the 2011-ish, when few people start meeting in a hacker club here in Prague, Brmlab, and they were geeking around Bitcoin. They were developing the first prototypes and protocols, the technology for the whole industry, which we are using until today, with a cypherpunk values and Bitcoin ethos.
How to say Prague is the Bitcoin capital in Czech?
Praha je hlavní město Bitcoinu.
It was a really cool 3-day conference where I met so many Bitcoiners from around the world. And at the end of my trip, I decided to explore one of the most beautiful neighborhoods in Prague. Old Town. Prague's Old Town is one of those places where every street feels like a movie set. This is the oldest part of Prague's historic center, with roots going back more than 1,000 years. For centuries, these narrow streets were full of merchants, craftsmen, churches and markets. And even today you can still feel that medieval atmosphere when you walk here early in the morning before the crowds arrive. Local photographers know this too, which is why so many wedding photos are taken here in the morning. Look at this cute couple. Sorry guys, I think I'm ruining your shot. Congrats! And eventually all the streets lead you to the heart of Old Town. Old Town Square. The square has been one of Prague's main gathering places since the Middle Ages. The first church that really stands out is the Church of Our Lady Before Teen. Its two Gothic towers rise above the square and make the whole place feel almost like a fairy tale. Then there is St. Nicholas Church, a beautiful Baroque church that gives the square a completely different look. But the landmark everyone comes here to see is the Old Town Hall with the Prague Astronomical Clock. Prague's astronomical clock is known as the oldest astronomical clock still in operation. Every hour, crowds gather in Old Town Square to watch its mechanical show with moving figures and the 12 apostles. While watching these moving figures built by the people of Prague more than 600 years ago, you realize something. Great technology can outlive generations. And knowing that centuries later Prague helped build so much of Bitcoin's foundation, it all starts to make sense. Prague is the Bitcoin capital.